and so frustrated and just angst-ridden, and you say to yourself, like I have, is it me? I hate this. It's a terrible thing. I don't know, Tim, do you ever feel like that? Do you ever get in a bad spot? I found myself in a bad spot for about 9 months this year. For a period of about January to September, I lived in Chicago and I worked in New York. So anyone ever commute to New York? Not for vacation, but for work. Because so we know, it's a pleasure. And you know what, I began to feel like I was living in downtown Beirut. I mean, here's my morning, and it wasn't just a morning, it was like every morning. My whole life was Groundhog Day. I stayed at the Hampton Inn, Brooklyn, downtown. I would be ripped out of a deep sleep between 5 and 6 every morning. Be sirens and trucks out my door, and you know, nothing's wrong. That's just the city. So I like stagger out of bed, and I would stagger downstairs to the lobby. I'd get a cup of coffee, and I'd walk a couple blocks to the gym. And it's not like Chicago to New York. So there's heavy traffic at like 6 a.m. And all I'm trying to do is cross the street. And so I see the walk sign. You know, you generally walk when you see the walk sign, Tim. And when I would walk, the cars would speed up. I had to like run to get through the intersection to get to my Pilates class. And then after that, and God willing, I made it back to the Hampton Inn. I showered, and then with about another 1 million members of humanity, I would take the subway down to our office in the meatpacking district. And I would get on that train, and I would clutch my laptop and my purse, and hopefully the train would go on time and I would get to work. Now I'm mad, and it's 8 a.m. and my day hasn't even started. So then I'd work the whole day and see the angry New York City customers, and every night, just like clockwork, between 6 and 7, I would take the crowded elevator down. I would say goodbye to Leroy, the security guard who would never answer me, and I would be muttering to myself, is it me? Is it me? Is this life happening to me? And I would go home, back to the hotel. And it was just like that every day until, oddly, for no particular reason, it's the end of the day. I see Leroy, who's never talked to me. Leroy is an old, thin, white guy, shorter than I am, thinner than I am. He's a small man. And so I say, good night, Leroy, and I go on my way, except he says, good night, ma'am, and it is you. I said, what? And I'm caught in a crowd, and he says, ma'am, with all due respect, it is you. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. And I'm getting mad, like is my response to everything in New York City. I said, what did you just say to me? He said, good night, ma'am. I said, no, I got the first part. Could you give me the second part again? He said, law of attraction, ma'am. Look it up. And I was so furious. The guy that stands around for a living is giving me advice? The hardworking traveling professional? Just to spite him, I run back to the Hampton Inn, order my large pizza because I deserve it, because I've had a bad day and life has been difficult to me. And I think, where's this armchair psychology quote coming from with 20th century philosopher? Ouch. The quote comes from a man that you might know a little bit earlier, about 430 BCE. That would be Buddha. Buddha came up with that expression. The mind is everything, you are what you think. And Buddha, as you know, is responsible for a little religion known as Buddhism, which is the most popular religion on the planet. About 600 million people, 10% of our population. And so I start to research this thing. I got Google going, and what is this? And does anyone, like, RJ, do you know what the law of attraction is? You know the basis behind it?
Yeah.
Mark, you know the basic?
Yep.
So from what I read, we are all made up of energy. And energy creates energy. Like creates like. you know, negative creates negative. Supposedly, with this theory, Dave could, if he wanted to, with enough oomph behind his belief and his visualization, he could manifest $1 million. Now, do I necessarily believe that in my life? Probably not. But there are a couple psychological exercises that are tied to that, that are A, free, B, really easy, and have helped me tremendously. I didn't need to go to therapy. I didn't need to go on prescription medication. I didn't need to be one of those guys or gals in New York City that always has their earbuds in because they simply can't deal. So, if any of you guys are ever struggling, that, you know, lots of people love New York City. Maybe you struggle in New York City. Maybe you struggle in Glen Ellen. I struggled, and whether you believe it or not, I have done these things. I am a much happier person. So anybody who wants to cope a little bit better and feel a little happier at no cost, 3 G's. What are the 3 G's? First, give the other person the benefit of the doubt. Okay, also known as reframing. Let's say Mark and I get in the subway, Mark cuts me off. Mark jumps ahead of me. Rather than me thinking, which I typically do, oh, there's another narcissistic New Yorker taking advantage of me. No, 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 no. I think, you know what? Maybe Mark has a sick child at home and Mark's got to get home. Whether or not Mark is a nice guy doesn't matter, but it reduces my obsession with hating the guy in front of me. Secondly, globalization or catastrophic thinking, which I am an expert at. Well, if this, you know, if the subway's late today, it's always going to be late, and I'm never going to get to work, and it's going to be terrible. No, it is what it is. Don't make it worse than it is. You know what I mean? Your bus is late, Tim. It's not going to be late for every day for the rest of your life. Lastly, the most important and the most obvious, and Dave talked about this in his speech, is gratitude. Everything is a gift. Everything, bad and good, is a gift. It might not feel good in the moment, particularly for me who likes to feel good all the time, but you will learn something and you will grow and you will be better because of it. So in closing, folks, anyone ever have a bad day? Anyone struggle? Anyone who's not 100% happy all the time? Just use the 3 G's. You know, they're simple, they're easy, and they're free. You know, give the person the benefit of the doubt, don't globalize, and have some gratitude. Mr. Toastmaster?